Welcome to my weekly podcast, Later That Same Life. I'm Larry Fedoruk, and each week a new topic, discussion, and story from our lives.
Season 5, Chapter 1, Disney versus the State of Florida.
There is an old saying about the state of Florida that I always thought to be accurate. And it goes, in Florida, the more north you go, the more south it gets. Their capital city, Tallahassee, tucked right up there just below Florida's border with Georgia. The state also borders Alabama. Georgia and Alabama bookended by Mississippi and South Carolina. And there you have a fine little quintet of old-school Southern hospitality. I'm not saying that everyone in those 5 states is a racist. No, just the racist ones. Nor am I saying there aren't racists all over the lower 48. I just think that in those states in particular, if you find yourself needing a racist, there's probably one within walking distance. Florida is the current home of the true president of the United States. Remember, he was robbed. Donald Trump still holds court at the Southern White House at Mar-a-Lago in West Palm Beach. Florida is also home to Trump's evil mini-me, State Governor Ron DeSantis. DeSantis is a Yale and Harvard-educated lawyer, a baseball star through college, and a former JAG officer who at one time was stationed at Guantanamo Bay. His job was to see that the legal rights of the prisoners were fairly represented. How did that go? By the way, his stint at Gitmo was nearly 15 years after Jack Nicholson was stationed there. We all remember that.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Oh, just a minute. I might be confusing fact with fiction. I hate when that happens. Apparently, I can't handle the fiction. So, after a distinguished military career, Ron DeSantis, armed with a glowing Trump endorsement, turned to politics. A couple of stints in D.C., then in 2018, after a questionable election, he became governor of the state of Florida. He's up for re-election in November. Strangely, among all the pain and suffering that currently is the state of Florida, somewhere near the middle is the happiest place on earth. Walt Disney World, Orlando. About an hour in from the Atlantic coast. Lately, the state of Florida is at odds with Disney World. They are fighting. It's serious. The Magic Kingdom versus the Tragic Republic. 2 big points of discussion have come out of this. 1, should corporations have a clear stand on all cultural issues? And 2, possibly the bigger question, what should kids be taught in schools and when? These are the 2 points I want to get to today. But first, since I told you how Republican Governor Ron DeSantis got to his lofty position in Florida, let me share how Disney got to theirs. Because that's an interesting story.
Walt Disney's Disneyland.
We all know about the great animator movie maker Walt Disney, who long ago had a vision for a clean, safe family fun park. Unlike the shady amusement parks he attended as a child with his father, with the questionable carnies, freak shows, and the ne'er-do-wells operating the rigged Midway games. Walt thought he could do better. The result was Disneyland, opened July 17th, 1955, in the greater Los Angeles area, city of Anaheim. A resounding success, to be sure. But they quickly realized that less than 10% of the clientele came from the East. They were missing out on a big chunk of the American population. Those who didn't want to take a cross-country trek just to shake hands with a mouse. Here's an interesting stat. Half of the population of the United States lives on either the West Coast or the East Coast. And the East Coast has twice the population of the West. In Walt's mind, he had to expand. He began looking around the eastern half of the country for cheap land, and a lot of it. Disney had learned a few lessons from building Disneyland in California, the main one being that he didn't control enough of the area around Disneyland. So he was constantly at the whim of state and city legislators, who would change laws and tax regulations. Walt did not care for the businesses and attractions that were springing up around Disneyland, and he vowed that next time he would do it differently, bigger and better. Today, Disneyland. Tomorrow, the world. Disney World, that is. He found land in Florida, right around Orlando. Over 30,000 acres of it, and cheap. Of course, most of it was swampland, inhabited by skunks and gators. Walt saw beyond that. He thought he could fix it up real nice, especially if he could save a bundle on land purchase. He knew that soon a new interstate would be running through Orlando, the I-4, and that a local military airbase would soon be converted into an international airport. This was shaping up nicely. Except no one could know that Disney was buying up property, because then the prices would skyrocket. They set up all kinds of shell companies, like the I-4 Corporation and the Reedy Creek Ranch Project. And in fairly short order, they had 48 square miles of real estate. At the time, those involved couldn't even say Disney. They would use code names like the Florida Project. There began to be rumors. A legendary tale has it that Walt had been asked about future Florida plans, and he mainly redirected a lot of the questions. But one reporter found it odd that Walt Disney would not only know the average annual rainfall in the area, but pronounced a local town's name correctly as Kissimmee, when almost everyone from out of town pronounced it incorrectly as Kissimmee. Well, eventually the cat was out of the bag. Disney World was coming to Florida, and it opened October 1st, 1971. Walt had lost his battle with cancer in 1966. His brother Roy took over the project. There is a great quote from Roy when the park opened 5 years after Walt's passing. On opening day, somebody apparently said to Roy, "It's a shame Walt isn't here to see this." And Roy responded, "He did see this. That's why it's here." Now, you don't just buy over 30,000 acres of land and build a theme park without jumping through a lot of government hoops and getting caught up in red tape. And to a certain extent, Disney did. But what they fought and negotiated for from the beginning was a unique government status that affected the way they operate and how they would pay taxes. So we all pay taxes. And what do we expect from that money? Well, at least some of the basics, right? Good roads, fire department, police, running water, garbage pickup. Sure. Disney's contention was that, hey, we're going to do all that ourselves. So why should we pay the same taxes? We're going to run our own show. It was a hard-fought battle, but Disney argued for and eventually won a very unique position: self-governing status within the state of Florida. Magic Kingdom jokes aside, they really became their own little principality. Disney builds and maintains roads. They heavily subsidize the local fire department. They have a massive security force and only use state police in extreme cases. They build and maintain water and sewage systems. They privately contract out garbage pickup. Disney World, Epcot, and all the related properties run as a little county onto their own. The 48 square miles is known as the Reedy Creek Improvement District. And they have their own council, of sorts, a board made up of 5 elected officials. Now, to no one's surprise, Disney executives often win elections to that board by a landslide. Disney does pay some state taxes. They also employ over 62,000 people in the state, Florida's largest single employer. Ironically, considering their latest battle over some issues, the second largest employer is Florida's education system. For over 50 years, Disney enjoyed this highly unique status. Self-governing status. Part of the tax money that was saved often went to political candidates to garner favor and make sure that the self-governing system stayed in place. Perhaps Disney thought that this arrangement would last forever. It appears they were living in Fantasyland. They didn't count on Captain Hook, who quickly yanked the agreement right from under them. Captain Governor Ron DeSantis Hook. He just took it away. Although the court battles over this are only just beginning, if Disney is the happiest place on earth, the happiest people there right now are the lawyers, especially the firm of Dopey Doc Bashful Sneezy and Associates. So why would Governor Ron DeSantis and his own amusement park, known as the Tallahassee Legislature, take on Mickey and the Magic Kingdom? Well, the short version is this. Florida recently passed the Parental Rights Education Law. Well, the name of that sounds fine, right?
So we've already taken great steps. Last year, I signed the Parents' Bill of Rights in the state of Florida, which was really something that was significant. Last week, we signed curriculum transparency legislation so that parents have a right to access the curriculum that's in their kids' schools, as well as understand what type of books are in school libraries. And today we will sign HB 1557, the Parents' Rights in Education Bill.
The law prohibits instruction in sexual orientation and gender identity to school kids in kindergarten to 3rd grade, K to 3. So ages about 4.5 to 8. Disney, under pressure, objected to the law and hinted that it would use its corporate might to have it overturned. Disney was told, stay in your lane. This is a very popular jab these days. We used to just say, mind your own business. Counter move to that, DeSantis takes away Disney's self-governing status. As I said, legal minds are having a field day with both sides, the school and the amusement park. DeSantis detractors say that if all the money Disney pours into infrastructure suddenly disappears, Florida taxpayers would have to make up the difference. This gets us back to the 2 discussions I mentioned at the top of the podcast. 1, should corporations have a clear stand on all cultural issues? I say yes. I think people want to know what kind of company they work for and what kind of companies they patronize. Corporations fear that taking a stand might mean a loss of business. I say, take a chance and take a stand. Hey, what's the worst that could happen? You piss off about half of your customers and maybe about 1/3 of your employees.
Not actual research data.
So what? I mean, everybody wants a happy staff, but most of the people need their job. And as for customers, yeah, I know a lot of times we like to vote with our ethics, but many times we are forced to vote with our wallet. I.e., I may not enjoy patronizing Walmart, but where are you going to get a price like that on a tray of chicken or a jug of Tide? I'd sooner a corporation have a clear mission statement based on their ethics than just lying in the weeds, trying to please everyone. So that's question 1, solved. Take a stand. Second question, the tougher one. What should kids be taught in schools and when? Kids. Interesting, we're aghast when Russian missiles kill innocent Ukrainian children. Yet in North America, we seem to have no problem throwing our children right in the middle of our culture wars. ages 4 till 8. Kids. Whatever happened to feed them, love them, and leave them alone? Let them be kids, instead of some mini version of you. Problem 1 with the Florida law is that it's too vague. It doesn't define instruction. Like if a kid puts up his hand in school and says, "Why does Jason have 2 mommies?" Can a teacher even respond? Vague is just opening it up to all kinds of challenges and lawsuits. I'm also not a big fan of the other side labeling this the Don't Say Gay bill. I mean, I know why they did that. It's because Republicans do not generally have a reputation for being very tolerant of gender fluidity and sexual preference. Oh, they're not all homophobic, just the homophobic ones. Like with many things in our society, I guess we feel we need a law where common sense should simply prevail. Generally, kids 4 to 8 don't care too much about gender per se, and sexuality doesn't generally come up until ages 11 or 12. That's most kids. Among them, however, a few may have some questions. I think those kids deserve answers. Smart answers from people they trust, parents and teachers. For the most part, kids are just curious about everything. "Hey teacher, why does Jason have 2 mommies?" Because families come in all shapes and sizes and families are all about love. Next. "Why does Tommy like to play with dolls?" Kids like to play with all kinds of toys. Next. "What does gay mean?" It can mean a lot of different things to different people. Next. They're kids. I also don't see how any teacher would be grooming a child to be gay. I mean, that's equating gay people with pedophiles. You know, like the ones that work in the basements of those Democratic pizza parlors along the eastern seaboard under the watchful eye of Hillary Clinton. Something like that, I don't know. I'm sorry if I didn't get your conspiracy theory exactly correct. I don't know if you've heard. You can't groom someone to be gay. You're gay, or you're not gay. How you eventually choose to express your preferences, or how open you are about it, well, that's your choice. Being gay is not a choice. I thought we all already understood that it was old news. I mean, come on, it's not like we're talking about enticing someone to join the Masons or the local Lions Club. Here are the benefits of joining our society. There's no grooming. It's a scare word from the right, and the left has their own scare words and phrases as well. Because really, I guess it's down to, never mind the kids. Let's just find our disagreements and quickly turn up the temperature to 500 degrees Fahrenheit. So the answer to this question, what should kids be taught in school and when? I don't know. I believe more is better, and that this applies to knowledge. The more you know, the better. One of my favorite sayings recently, quantity has a quality all its own. The more you know. We should be mindful of age and attuned to the fact that some kids might need special attention from teachers and parents. We should also return to the notion that schools are institutions of learning and not indoctrination camps. And if your child turns out different from you, don't fear it or ignore it, value it or embrace it. Lastly, come on, Florida, wise up, grow up. What kind of Mickey Mouse operation are you running over there? What would it take to drag you into Tomorrowland? Because right now, you're just goofy. And Disney puns done.
Later That Same Life is written, voiced, and produced by Larry Fedoruk. LarryFedoruk37@gmail.com. Subscribe to Larry's podcast YouTube channel. Get automatic notifications with each new episode.